Since the first final presentation for I-CCEW, I can see Andrew's feeling very old right now. That's right, 15 and a half years. And since that time, hundreds of projects have been completed, more hundreds of students participating, leading to over $50 million of revenue and funds raised for startups and businesses and nonprofits all around Oklahoma and beyond. And it's been 15 and a half years of high standards and rigor and excellence that epitomizes the standards that have been set here at I-CCEW that you will see today from our terrific set of interns presenting today. And for our incoming interns, an elite group to join. The pandemic has left everyone a bit uncertain, but our staff here at I-CCEW has not just got our feet under us, but we are sprinting. We've had a terrific program for our university programs. We've been running the mine over the last 9 months, and that mine program is getting close to wrapping up. We've had, I think, one of our largest, if not the largest, OK Coders program being executed right now. So we've done great stuff with our existing programs, but at the same time, also have grown the program. We have recently helped to launch Oklahoma's and OU's first OU Alumni Venture Capital Fund. And in the course of launching that fund, also creating an entirely new track, opening up the opportunity for students and interns to experience life in the world of venture capital and prepare themselves for an entirely new career. We've recently reached an important milestone with Boyd Street Ventures where we received funding and also deployed it into companies based off of evaluation by the students themselves. So a terrific application of our real-world internship being extended to a whole new set of students and experiences. We've also tested an entirely new approach to our MIND program in Tulsa, focused on a studio approach to help launch a new social venture, partnered with a new social innovation fund there in Tulsa. So lots of new things happening, lots of great things happening with our current program. Now, today we're going to see some great presentations for clients that are OU alumni, alumni of our program, employees of our program, and brand new folks to our community. We're going to cover the gamut from energy, alternative energy, to artificial intelligence, to nonprofit ideas. We really run the spectrum of fascinating projects. So without further discussion, let me turn it over to the interns and get started with the program.
My name is Michael Williams, and this semester I've had the pleasure and joy of working as the Agile Product Design Team Lead. I've gotten to work with 3 wonderful young individuals as they have sought their own professional development skills and taught me and challenged me to be a better team lead. I also want to say a few thank yous before I turn it over to them. So firstly, to our client, Sue Ringus, and our internship director. This semester, as I've run into, met old I-CCEW alumni, friends that have gone through the program, past team leads, once I mentioned that I'm working with Sue Ringus as our client, their jaws drop. They know what she meant to them in writing recommendation letters, meeting with them one-on-one, just pursuing every avenue of emotional and mental support for them as they develop themselves as young professionals. As long as she wasn't taking one of her kids to one of the 45+ sports they're involved in, whether it's basketball or soccer or Norwegian ice fishing or luge or whatever, she was there for us. She was dependable. She gave up her weekends so we could go and visit her OKC headquarters. She would give up her evenings to reply to our random 11 p.m. emails. And she was just a fantastic client to be able to work with. I think she may have ruined consulting with me because I don't think there's ever a way that I have a better experience with a client than I had with her. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank Drew, our fellow on the program. He initially this semester when we had our first meeting, he told me, I've worked with every business consulting team in I-CCEW, but I've never worked with the engineers before. And I said, all right, I'm going to do everything I can to challenge him. I'm going to show him what engineering is, right? But that mentality that he brought of he wanted to challenge himself, he held us to that standard to challenge us as well. He was extremely dependable. He did everything he could to make sure our team succeeded and was thriving in every way possible. He was out of town once, so we had to have a meeting on Zoom, just our normal meeting. And the Zoom camera came on, and there he was sitting inside. I said, Drew, aren't you in Hawaii? How's Hawaii been? And he said, I just got here a few hours ago. I was jet lagged, and I was tired, and so I just woke up for our meeting. I said, have you not even gotten to see the beach yet? He said, no, I can see it. And he turned his Zoom camera around, and right out these beautiful bay windows, there was the beach and the ocean right down the hill. And he said, yeah, my brother and my dad are out there right now. I'll go meet them in a bit. I said, Drew, we can have this meeting at any other time. Go spend time with your family on the beach of Hawaii. But it was solely because I had said, this is the time that works for me, that he was going to make it happen. He's been dependable, and he's been a guiding light in my own abilities and development as the team lead. I would also be remiss if I didn't thank my team. Again, they've challenged me professionally, made me become a better leader, and each of them have become incredibly capable young engineering minds, young professionals in the field. And with that, I'd like to ask you all to help me in welcoming the 2022 Spring Agile Product Design Team.
Thank you all for coming out today. We're at APD. This semester, we've had the pleasure of working with Social Greenery. So imagine you're sitting around the Christmas tree on Christmas Day, giving gifts to your family and friends, but you can also give a gift back to the environment. That's what Social Greenery offers its customers. It's a rental Christmas tree service that rents out living Christmas trees for about a month during the holiday. So at the beginning of this semester, we identified the three main problems that Social Greenery was facing. The first problem was the aesthetics of the pot. Second problem was the maintenance. The trees were too hard to upkeep on the customer's end. And the third problem was the environmental impact. Due to the trees being too hard to maintain, 20% of the trees were coming back dead or too dry to be donated afterwards. So after 35 surveys and interviews and countless hours of research, we figured out a solution. We would integrate a sub-irrigation system into a pot that would solve all these problems. Thank you. I'm Casey, this is Peyton and Prince, and we're the Agile Product Design Team.
Social Greenery focuses on their Rent a Living Christmas Tree program, which provides an eco-friendly and community-building alternative to holiday celebrations. They use 9-foot-tall Leyland cypress trees, which are hypoallergenic and can be donated and replanted in Oklahoma City. These is done in 3 simple steps. First is you order your delivery, schedule your delivery, and it'll be brought right to your front door. Next, you get to keep your tree in your home for 4 to 6 weeks for the holiday season and decorate your tree however you'd like. Finally, the tree will be picked up from your home and donated to Oklahoma City nonprofits to be replanted. Social Greenery's customers greatly care about the ability for these trees to be redonated. One customer specifically said that Social Greenery provides a convenient, climate-positive solution and that they love everything that they stand for. And while Social Greenery's customers love Social Greenery, there are a few problems that they are facing: the aesthetics, the maintenance, and the environmental impact. 75% of Social Greenery's previous customers have stated that their suggestions are focused on the aesthetics of the tree, specifically with the pot. One customer specifically said they were not a fan of the pot because it was not the most attractive, but that was the only complaint that they could come up with. Next, 70% of the outside market biggest concern was with maintenance. These are people who are used to using artificial trees where they don't have to water or do any upkeep to make sure that those trees are looking their best. One person said that their issue is getting the tree, storing it, and taking care of it. Finally, with the environmental impact, 20% of the trees from the last season were too dry to be donated, meaning they could no longer take in carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and they just had to be thrown out. again emphasizing how much Social Greenery's customers love that these trees can be redonated. One person said that her and her husband love Social Greenery because these trees can be redonated and replanted, and they feel like they are adding to the garden of their community. To combat these issues, we have designed a new container that will reduce the maintenance and increase the number of trees that will be donated. First, with the aesthetics, we are going to use a red container, as that is the one that received the highest rankings from our surveys, with a score of 7.1 on a 10-point scale. Additionally, this ranking would improve if festive stickers were included. From an Instagram poll, some people had suggested using a more neutral color like gold, and others had just said that they would prefer having multiple options to choose from. To reduce the maintenance, we will be implementing a sub-irrigation system, which will store 2 gallons of water below the pot for the tree to take up water whenever it needs to. This would reduce the watering frequency to 29% of what it currently is. So instead of having to water the tree every other day, it would only need to be watered once a week. Finally, with those 20% of trees that were unable to be donated, they could have taken in 80,000 pounds of carbon over their combined lifespan. Looking more specifically into the prototype, again, sub-irrigation systems can reduce the watering frequency. And to get to this design, we'd gone through 9 iterations of designs and even considering using anti-desiccants to help trap moisture within the tree. But after talking to some plant specialists, we determined that sub-irrigation would be the best solution because it allows the trees to take up water whenever they need to. To do this, we will be having a feeding tube that will go directly down to the bottom of the pot and allow you to fill the tree with the bottom of the pot 2 gallons of water. Next, we have separators and spacers that will create a stand for the nursery pot to sit on. Both the separator and the nursery pot have a hole through the middle that will be connected with a cloth wicking material that will take up water using capillary action. These parts are individual and can be easily assembled and disassembled, which the customers would not need to worry about themselves, but it is important for Social Greenery's owner, so if one piece is faulty, the whole thing does not need to be replaced.
Introducing a sub-irrigation pot into Social Greenery's business model will increase the market to a new high of 7,000 households, which is an increase of 34% from their previous market. We found this number by looking at Social Greenery's ideal customer, who's a 25 to 60-year-old homeowner in the greater OKC area who celebrates Christmas, already uses a real Christmas tree, considers themselves to be eco-conscious, makes over $50,000 annually because it's going to be a sort of a premium package deal. We also identified that the best way to reach this market is going to be using Instagram, Facebook, and Snapchat because those are the most prevalent social media platforms for these character traits that we identified.
So our competitive analysis showed that an increase in Social Greenery's product will be worth it due to the value add in maintenance and recyclability. So we compared Social Greenery to other Christmas tree companies, and we found that Social Greenery's trees are the most eco-friendly and sustainable Christmas tree option because they are live trees as they are still connected to their roots, and so they help trap carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. And after we implement our sub-irrigation system, there will be low maintenance for customers when they use these trees. And since Social Greenery is a rental service, after the trees have been used by the customers, they can later be picked up and they will be still alive to be donated. Other Christmas tree companies like Christmas Tree Farms provide cut trees, and those trees are not sustainable because they are pretty much dead trees since they are no longer connected to their roots. Customers who use these trees are required to water their trees on a daily basis, and so they cannot compete with Social Greenery in terms of maintenance. And after customers have finished using those trees, they are pretty much left with a dead tree that they would not know what to do with. So that is not a good option. Other Christmas tree companies like retailers who provide fake trees are made from plastic materials, and those are not sustainable either. However, Social Greenery cannot directly compete with these companies because fake trees do not require any form of maintenance. Social Greenery cannot also directly compete with them in terms of cost because the average cost of fake trees are relatively cheaper compared to Social Greenery's trees, but they are not sustainable for the environment. After we after we organized a couple of surveys, about 80% of customers were willing to pay $40 extra for social green risk products. And so increasing the price of social green risk trees will be justified, especially considering the value add in maintenance and recyclability.
Introducing a sub-irrigation pot into Social Greenery's business model will increase profit margins by $20 while keeping competitive pricing. So if we manufacture the pot, including materials and all manufacturing costs, will cost about $35 to manufacture, while the tree will be $75, and other additional costs like shipping, handling, and branding will be $10. So the cost for the entire product will be about $110, but we can charge $40 more, from $160 to $200 on the consumer end. And that's according to feedback we got on surveys saying about 75% of Social Greenery's current customers would be willing to pay $40 more for this premium product. But in the first year of, so like this upcoming year, we're gonna do a pilot program to test the market and make sure that there's no real like discrepancies between the survey feedback and what the market will actually do. So we're going to use aftermarket solution from Terra Verde and order these pots just to make sure that the market is actually there.
So our financial projections show that after we implement the new premium pot, Social Greenery will make a profit of about $167,000 over 5 years. So we're going to implement the aftermarket test pot in year 1. And this is to accommodate our clients wanting to use her current existing old pots. And in year 2, we're going to implement the manufacture mold option, but that will require an initial investment of $50,000. But there will be a break-even point in the 3rd year. The new pots that are going to be implemented have a lifespan of about 3 to 4 years, and so they can be used over the years. This will reduce the average cost of the pots over the years as well. So for our next steps, we're going to suggest to our clients to purchase the aftermarket test pots and assemble them with the trees. And we also suggest to her to advertise the new pots to her customers. And when she launches it, we'll also suggest that she gets feedback from her customers so that she can find out what they enjoyed about using the pot and what they may not like about using the pot, so that changes can be made in the following years. We will have a sample to show after the program, so please stick around to see that. We've enjoyed working together on this project to improve customer satisfaction for our clients and also get more profit for her. We'll now open the floor for questions. Thank you.
With the Tierra Verde one, that is recycled plastic, so it is still a relatively eco-friendly option, but with the manufacturing side, we'll be using a plant-based resin, which is also eco-friendly. Additionally, the manufacturers that we are planning to use are actually in Oklahoma City, so it is also local, so we don't have to worry that much about shipping costs. And resin itself is pretty lightweight, and for the amount that we need, it's pretty cheap. Sub-irrigation pots do already exist. Part of the thing is these are Christmas trees, so they're quite large compared to other types of houseplants. So our pot would be around 20 gallons, whereas it's pretty hard to find an actual sub-irrigation system that's large. But yeah, I mean, there are other houseplants that can be just as large as those trees.
Most of the other larger applications were to be like, you put the plant in it and then bury the pot. It wasn't like a freestanding pot.
I was wondering where the $75 amount for the tree kind of came from, or if you had thought of any way.
Cost is just like the established cost from the tree nursery that Social Greenery like currently and has gotten their trees from in the past.
I don't know if you looked into the difference between cut real trees and these live real trees in terms of safety. Are these any less flammable? That may be an additional selling point.
So with the sub-irrigation system, one of the problems with cut trees is needles, right? Like as the tree dries, it loses needles. But with the sub-irrigation, you won't have to worry about that because the tree essentially waters itself. So it'll still be flammable, but as much as like any other tree would be, there wouldn't be a bunch of excess needle flammable stuff around it. Yes, definitely. So the manufacturing cost is kind of like a one-time lump sum to produce the mold. The $50,000 was to purchase the mold, and these molds are designed to produce like millions and millions of these pots. So you could easily expand to Tulsa, Dallas, other areas around here without much additional cost in that area. Thank you all.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brooke Sinsley, and I have had the pleasure of being the team lead for OFA this semester. To start, I'd like to give some thanks to staff, of course, for their continual support, and Jennifer for being an outstanding fellow to me. Also, to all of you for being here today, really appreciate it, and our amazing clients for working with us throughout the semester. I've had an amazing experience working with Nora, Kissinger, Erica, and Carson. We've had a pretty good time. I've tried to teach them everything I possibly could. I think they've probably taught me more. We've had a couple laughs, some of those spanning from Nora using me as her personal alarm clock, Kissinger ordering a cheeseburger at our breakfast event, Carson claiming to have roundhouse kicked a fly in one of our team meetings, which I still don't believe, and Erica rarely, if ever, being below an 8 on the emotional barometer, which, if you know me, I don't know if I've ever gotten to an 8 in my entire life. So with that being said, I know y'all didn't come here to listen to me. I know the team's prepared, and they're excited to show all their hard work. So I'm going to pass it off to Nor to begin OFA's final presentation. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much for that, Brooks. Thank you all for being here this afternoon. We are the OFA team, where each of our 4 consulting associates works on a one-on-one basis with an Oklahoma startup to address any opportunities or challenges they may be facing. Our team lead is Brooke Sinsley, and our fellow is Jennifer Burrows. My name is Nora Cobby. I'm a junior from Tulsa, Oklahoma, pursuing degrees in public and nonprofit admin, and this semester I've had the privilege of working with DesignMind.
Hi, my name is Kissinger Charles. I'm a sophomore from Haiti, majoring in accounting, and this semester I have had the privilege of working with Engage Learning.
My name is Carson Stock. I'm a senior from Albuquerque, New Mexico, studying entrepreneurship and economics. And this semester, I've had the privilege of working with my client, Anna Lab.
My name is Erica Miller. I am a junior from Fort Worth, Texas, studying marketing and entrepreneurship, and I've had the privilege of working with Adopt Your Legacy.
Thanks, Erica. So DesignMind is a social impact workshop aiming to provide at-risk women with the tools to build a safe and secure home for themselves and their children. My client, Jody Feiner, is a creative executive and interior designer at her fabric business, S. Harris, and DesignMind is the social impact work of her company. In 2019, Jody partnered with the diversionary program Women in Recovery to pilot a 10-person workshop. DesignMind is a 3-week free supplementary workshop that partners with social service organizations to teach women how to use therapy and design concepts to engage in holistic healing. DesignMind aims to increase the number of women who can successfully transition back to their communities, and some key insights to date are, firstly, that DesignMind can impact approximately 3,000 women in Oklahoma, Secondly, a hybrid model will allow for financial sustainability. And thirdly, the client will need to fundraise $87,000 to impact 750 women across 5 years. DesignMind's target market is housing insecure women and can impact 3,300 women in Oklahoma. So here at-risk women are defined as women struggling with substance abuse, have faced incarceration, or struggled with housing insecurity. So firstly, formerly incarcerated women comprise 1,800 of this segment, of this market size, and these are women who are currently in reentry or diversionary programs. Housing insecure women comprise 1,500, and these are women living in transitional homes or women's housing. The problem here is that Oklahoma has the highest rate of female incarceration in the nation, and 70% of these women struggle with substance abuse, whereas 30% will return to prison after only 3 years. This causes separation of families, trauma, and a negative relationship with the home. DesignMind aims to meet these needs by pairing emotional coping strategies and design concepts to give these women the tools to create a safe, functional, and secure home, reducing the likelihood of homelessness or incarceration. The green box in the middle is a quote from a graduate of the first pilot program saying how it allowed her to help her heal her relationship with herself in her home. Lastly, DesignMind's target market is housing insecure women for 3 reasons. Despite it being the smaller of the 2 segments, they have the largest number of potential partner organizations in the area. These women have established a baseline level of functioning needed for DesignMind to be successful, and they're on a path to independent living. As a supplementary workshop, DesignMind can partner with the over 15 women's housing organizations in Oklahoma and must apply for 501c3 status. The way this business model will work is that Jody's company, S. Harris, will provide an annual contribution of $25,000, and the difference between that and the total program cost will be covered through external funders like the Kaiser Family Foundation and the Zero Foundation at about $1,400 per workshop. This will enable DesignMind as a 501c3 to provide free 3-week workshops to women by partnering with the organizations on the right, like Lindsay House and Remerge. It wraps up with a 2-year mentorship program giving women the long-term support they need to re-enter their communities and reducing the rates of recidivism in Oklahoma long-term. The client will need to fundraise $87,000 to impact 750 women across 5 years. In this financial model, you can see that in year 1, staff will focus on curriculum creation, applying for nonprofit status, and will pilot 3 more workshops to build proof of success for future partnerships. Years 2 and 3 see very little cost fluctuation, but will impact 120 women in year 3. Year 4 is where we see exponential expansion of DesignMind due to the staff being increased from part-time to full-time and operating at about 24 workshops, impacting 240 women. Year 5 is where DesignMind will reach its target goal of impacting 300 women by conducting 30 workshops and will operate at a very reasonable cost of $200 per woman. My next steps include looking at curriculum creation, nonprofit status, and fundraising strategies. With that, I will pass it off to Kissinger.
Thank you, Noor. "41% of homeschooling families don't provide any STEM education to their children because they say it's too costly." Hi, I am Kissinger, and this semester I have had the privilege of working with Engage Learning, which is a Norman-based nonprofit founded in 2016 and that has since impacted thousands of K-12 public school students. Engage Learning aims to expand STEM education to underserved communities as they run a successful STEM camp with the Californian Homeschool Association. But most importantly, they tasked the OFA team this semester to research the needs and pricing preferences of homeschooling families. A semester-long research has yielded 3 main insights. 1, homeschooling families overwhelmingly want STEM curriculums with lab projects. 2, Engage Learning needs to adapt its sales method to reach homeschool families. And 3, despite conservative financial projections, Engage Learning could well impact 700 homeschool middle school students by its 3rd year of operations. So up to the first part. Engaged Learning should offer STEM curriculums with lab projects. According to a survey conducted earlier this semester, 60% of homeschooling families rank lab projects as one of the most important components of a STEM curriculum. Moreover, a homeschooling parent noted that the live learning feature would enable learners to communicate together and foster discussions, which they believe is the best learning format. Moreover, a spokesperson for a homeschooling group noted that homeschooling parents heavily rely on modules, especially when their kids are in middle school. Overall, this shows that engaged learning's curriculum, which is 1, hands-on, 2, taught in real time, and 3, that is divided with modules, would have great appeal among homeschool parents. Up to the second part. Oops. Engaged Learning needs to adapt its sales method to reach homeschooling families. And here's an idea of how would that work. It all starts on the left-hand side of the screen with the Engaged Learning logo. So Engaged Learning would reach out to homeschool groups, and there, interested parents would go on a third-party sales platform, and in this case, Shopify, to purchase Engaged Learning's curriculum. Now, that step is crucial because parents noted that the quality of curriculums often coincides with automated sales processes. Now, once the parents have purchased the Engaged Learning's curriculum, Engaged Learning would provide both the instruction as well as the teaching equipment to children. Overall, Engaged Learning would be able to earn $20 of profit margin on every class of 12 students sold out. Now, we have to point out that would include all of the startup costs, and also the kits would be reused 7 times at least. Now, how can Engaged Learning go from offering 1 class to offering many more? Despite conservative financial projections, Engaged Learning could well impact 700 homeschool middle school students by its third year of operation, while earning $12,000 in profits. And here are a couple of the assumptions that we made. Assumption 1 and 2, Engaged Learning has already built a curriculum, and 2, Engaged Learning already possesses all the teaching equipment. And 3, the compounded annual growth rate is of 9%. So in year 1, Engaged Learning would offer 18 classes at an initial investment of $20,000. By year 3, Engaged Learning would offer 21 classes and will impact over 700 homeschool students while earning $12,000. Now, here are a couple of the next steps. Next steps include adapting the homeschooling curriculum to parents' preferences, as well as reaching out to homeschool groups. Thank you. I will pass it on to Carson.
Thank you, Kissinger. This semester, I've worked with Analab, an Oklahoma-based startup company using artificial intelligence to simplify document management. My clients, Grant and Luke, founded Analab in 2020 with the goal of offering state-of-the-art machine learning models for document analysis and data extraction. To this point, they've had success servicing the aircraft title industry. Now that Analab has further developed their intelligent document processing platform, they are prepared to move beyond the aircraft title industry and into new markets. My research has yielded 3 key insights, which are that banking comprises 27% of the IDP market and offers the most use cases. Second of all, IDP can increase mortgage processing speed by 50%. And thirdly, Analab can build up to a $62 million valuation and can break even in 2 years. Analab should target banking due to large market share and use case opportunities. The 3 metrics used to determine industry attractiveness in this project were concentration of small and medium-sized firms, number of available use cases, and overall segment size. As you can see from the graph on the left, banking leads in all 3 of these categories with a dominant market share and the highest marks in both use cases and SMB concentration. Small and medium-sized business concentration is important because these are the types of firms that are poised to show the largest growth in adoption of IDP over the coming years. Additionally, number of use cases is important because for a software company with large-sized contracts and relatively fewer clients, a greater number of use cases means that there are better opportunities for expansion revenue with the same client. Additionally, interviews with banking executives underscored their interest in adding vendors that could increase their efficiency and help their firm grow their technological capabilities. Now that we know that Analab should target the banking industry, what difference can they actually make in the space? Well, in the case of mortgage processing, they can help a medium-sized mortgage firm increase document processing speed by 50% and grow their profits by $800,000 in a single year. Analab starts by taking in mortgage documents, where they index the documents and organize them by file type. From there, machine learning models extract relevant information and further sort the information into useful tables for a loan officer to verify. All in all, this saves the loan officer time scrolling, clicking, and keying, and can allow the firm to add 250 more mortgages in a single year and an additional $800,000 in revenue. My financial model shows that Analab can break even in 2 years and can build up to a $62 million valuation in year 5. Starting off in year 1, with only 6 clients, Analab is poised to lose $344,000 in income. However, in the coming years, if they're capable of growing their client base steadily, they'll be able to break even in year 2, and with 66 clients in year 5, can reach nearly $500,000 in net profit. This is based on an average contract value of $150,000, which can actually be considered relatively low for the IDP space. Other assumptions made in this financial model are a $25,000 customer acquisition cost, being able to sustain a new client per month from years 2 to 4, and the $62 million valuation based on a 12x run rate multiple. Next steps for Analab include acquiring sample mortgage documents and integrating their system with core banking system APIs. By acquiring sample mortgage documents, Analab can begin to build their machine learning models from which they can tailor their demos specifically to their banking clientele. After this, they can focus on back-end integration, creating a product that flows seamlessly with banks and allows for an optimized customer experience. Thank you, and I will now pass it on to Erica.
Thank you, Carson. My name is Erica Miller, and this semester I've had the privilege of working with my client Karen Wang to assess the feasibility of Adopt Your Legacy, or AYL, which is an influencer-driven social media platform for the adoptive community. So this research has been focused on identifying the needs of adoptees to be able to deliver specialized content to the community. Some key insights to date are that there are roughly 3.6 million adoptees currently on online support groups. The second insight is that AYL could effectively operate on a freemium business model. And lastly, AYL can seek to impact 15,000 adoptees by year 5. So looking at the market, there are a couple of key differentiators that AYL can use to differentiate itself from pre-existing communities online. The first one is that adoptees are looking for mentorship and coaching opportunities. AYL can implement these in 2 different realms. One is through the influencer marketing industry, which is currently situated at $13.8 billion, and also the coaching industry, which is at $1.3 billion. Also a key insight is that adoptees are looking for content created by them for them. So one adoption intake manager actually said that in the triad there's so much focus on the adoptive community when it comes to parents and birth parents, but there's not enough of the adoptee's voice themselves being amplified. So by allowing the platform to amplify the adoptee voice themselves, this can set them apart from their competitors. Continuing on, AYL could operate on a freemium business model. So this is what it kind of would look like. So there would be free content and also paid for content. Part of the free content would include social media posts, YouTube videos, as well as podcasts, and then it's expected that 3% of these users would go on to use a paid-for membership. The paid-for membership, based off of competitive pricing, could be $35 a month, and this would allow access to community groups, as well as virtual workshops, and coaching and mentorship services. With this model, AYL could look to generate $46,000 in profit impact over 15,000 members of the community over the next 5 years. This is assuming that in the first year, 1,000 followers will be reached on social media, 15% of these followers will actually be active on the social media sites, and 25% of those followers will go on to be members. It's also looking at, in the first year, only operating on the social media platforms, but also having a white label platform such as Passion, Mighty Networks, or Tribe. These would allow AYL to actually implement integrations of forums and chats and Zoom services to actually get the content across. So that would include a 3.9% fee for costs there. And it would cost roughly $2,300 a month for AYL to use this platform and to also create content. So with that assumption, and also the assumption that AYL can include workshops in years 2 through 5, it can be seen that AYL can generate $53,000 cumulatively and impact over the 15,000 adoptees, allowing them to have a platform that allows them to find a sense of belonging and also empowerment. So the next steps include generating content and creating brand, because one of the key components is that brand consistency of posting and community groups are what can grow the social media platforms the most. But with that being said, we are so grateful to have been working with our clients this semester. We thank you so much for your time, and we will now open up the floor for questions.
All right. So what you're asking is, why haven't we charged a higher price for the curriculum? Well, so the answer to that is the OFA team has been looking into different ways when it comes to that, because that's a question that we have addressed very early on when we are working on this project. And so basically the idea is, first of all, the moral imperative to enter the homeschooling market is extremely high because again, 40% of homeschooling families who don't provide STEM education to their children say it's because it's too costly. So because Engage Learning is first and foremost a nonprofit, they put an emphasis on expanding STEM education to underserved communities and especially families who need it. But most importantly, when looking at pollings, we have been able to send out surveys, and we have seen that across the board that at least parents would be willing to pay $25 per module, so times that by the at least four different modules that Engage Learning would be able to offer, that would make it for $100, and that would make it a fair price for the parents. So.
Okay, so your question is, what state or federal regulatory concerns have I considered in entering the banking market? Well, I'd say there's a few main concerns that Analab should have to contend with. First, I've recommended, and this has been from interviews and demos with banking executives, that they explore front and back end encryption. This has been noted as important for any sort of vendor acquisition that a bank would take on. As far as antiquated systems, we see that banks really differ from firm to firm in where they are kind of on that adoption scale. We have companies that are taking on new fintech ventures to help standardize mortgage documents, and we have companies that are still doing things out of a file cabinet. So it's really meeting companies that are digitized to the point where they have things in computers and out of file cabinets, but are not necessarily at that adoption point where things are already streamlined. About 20% of the market so far is on the front end of this adoption curve, so that leaves a pretty big space for Analab to come in and have a really positive effect on the banking industry.
So your question is about customer acquisition costs and what those kind of look like?
Correct. Specific to, you mentioned social media is kind of the main way to do it. Are you seeing any trends there that might be favorable or unfavorable for the next few years?
Yes. So there's definitely a trend towards Facebook ad optimization. And so if AYL can tap into that, they could generate a lot of followers there, especially because the majority of pre-existing consumers that would be utilizing this platform are in Facebook groups. So by using the optimization features, they can generate a lot of traffic. Also with Instagram, that's kind of a duo there, but that would be a great platform to target as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So your question is, with a larger size vertical comes greater competition. And that's absolutely true. We know that the most competition is in the banking sector, even though it is, and that corresponds to the fact that it's the bluest ocean. It's the fastest growing IDP market. It has the widest number of use cases. Well, one thing that I've picked out from this research is that small and medium-sized firms have not yet been targeted by a lot of these IDP companies. So primarily, there's great opportunity in addressing the needs of these smaller firms. Additionally, prices for contracts have been trending downward across the board. So there may be an opportunity to kind of standardize a product like, for instance, mortgage document processing and undercut competition from a price perspective if that was an opportunity. Other markets that you could look at are really oil and gas and healthcare. These are markets identified as also having a great number of use cases. They are less standardized across different firms, but they're also being not as targeted by other competitors. Okay.
Yeah, so your question is, what are the needs of the housing insecure market and how does DesignMind meet those needs? So the market size is taken from women who are currently receiving services. So one requirement that came up in my research and interviews is that women already have a baseline level of functioning, so housing, food, transportation, clothing. So by already receiving services from a shelter, DesignMind comes in as a supplementary workshop, and there's really nothing like DesignMind on the market that offers a combination of emotional regulation based in psychology and then also interior design concepts to create a home and impact their mental health for their children. So it meets those needs in a very unique way. I hope that answers your question.
We have time for one more question. Thank you.
Hello? Hello. Okay, what do you get when you get a team of students who have different academic backgrounds to work on a project about magnets? This is the energy development team this semester. Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Eltel, and I had the honor of being the team lead for the energy development team. Getting to work with these interns has been an honor, and they always brought such awesome research and insights to the table at every one of our meetings. Nandu is a great problem solver, and she was also she surprised us with her amazing bowling skills one time, so she has that skill on her resume for sure. John taught us how to make a delicious Louisiana-style jambalaya while crunching away at our financials this semester, and I'm just super impressed with his wide variety of skills. Christabel not only wowed us with her amazing consulting skills, but also her Afrobeat dance skills. If you had the pleasure of seeing Christabel dance, you know how awesome she is. And finally, Jules, who is doing an I-CCEW victory lap, taught us the importance of storytelling while teaching us the importance of image background remover, which is key for making great presentations. Before I introduce the team, I want to give a few shout outs and thank yous. Firstly, to our client, Ashley Zumwalt Forbes with Recycle, for allowing us to work on such an impactful project and always being our #1 fan. Our fellows this semester, Chandler Dowderkin, who is currently in Houston doing big consulting things, for always teaching me to trust my instinct and really inspired me during my time as a team leader. And Drew Yamashita, who has been a great resource and mentor to myself and the entire team. Getting to work with both of these fellows has been amazing, and it really taught me how to go with my own instinct, especially when they made me choose between some of the advice that they would give me. So that was a fun experience. I also want to thank the entire I-CCEW staff for supporting myself and my interns this semester, because this semester would not have been possible without you all. So without further ado, I would like to introduce the Energy Development Team for Spring 2022.
Welcome and thank you all for coming. We are the Energy Team. We're very excited to be here with you today. My name's John Noel, and I'm a sophomore finance major here at OU.
My name is Jules Phillips, and I am a senior majoring in finance.
I am Nundumi Somzebele, and I am a global energy, environment, and resources major.
I am Christabel Johanna Ferry Aqua. I am a psychology major on the pre-med track with a minor in MIS.
When thinking about modern problems, there are few that are as pressing as climate change. And all of the solutions to climate change are heavily reliant on one material, rare earth elements. That's why our incredible client and I-CCEW alum, Ashley Zumwalt Forbes, founded Recycle, an innovative rare earth recycling company that will change the way rare earth elements are procured in the United States. In the commercialization of this incredible technology, there were three main problems that Ashley wanted us to address. First, the primary end-of-life units that Recycle should be targeting. Second, the places that they should be targeting those units from. And lastly, the optimal location for Recycle to begin building its first facility. Through countless hours of market research and over 30 interviews, we were able to come to the conclusion that Recycle should target HDDs and MRIs from third-party partners and base their location in Fort Worth, Texas. We're very excited to share our findings with you today, and I'll pass it to Jules for some more global context.
Okay. So there is no doubt that the clean energy transition is important and necessary, right? But what we found throughout this project is that it is also extremely rare earth hungry, right? For example, when you think about demands to rare earth, an electric vehicle has about 6 times that of a traditional car. A wind turbine, 9 times that of a traditional gas plant. According to the Department of Energy, this demand is about to grow by over 500% in the next few decades. And so the US will need to close a gap of about 80,000 tons of rare earth. This is equivalent to about $17.7 billion. What makes this really a critical issue is that currently the US is 100% reliant on imports. which leads to two different problems, right? Number one, we're producing clean energy using not so clean processes abroad. According to a study in the University of Maryland and also Shandong University, in 2015, China incurred about $7.3 billion in environmental costs. Another problem, it exposes the US supply chain to different geopolitical risks. The worst case we've seen was in 2011, a conflict between Japan and China raised neodymium prices by about 550%. And so the US needs a solution, a sustainable solution that produces clean energy using cleanly extracted materials here in home soil. Now, with the ability to take in these used magnets, recycle them, and produce 3 of the most critical rare earth elements when it comes to supply risk and importance to clean energy, recycle is that solution. Let's see how this works.
The yearly demands for rare earth elements, also known as REEs, are expected to rise drastically from 2020 to 2035, causing major depletions in their geological reserves. So what our client Recycle has done is found a way to sustainably recycle these elements using a patented technology that retrieves them from magnets within end-of-life electronics like hard drives, as well as synchronous motors like those in wind turbines, MRI machines, as well as electric vehicles. Recycle's circular process has an environmental advantage over traditional mining processes is in that it can reduce CO2 emissions by more than 2 million metric tons. So, once these elements have been extracted with the 99.8 recovery efficiency, they are then processed, converted into metal oxides in a proprietary solvent, and then sold to various oxide buyers. And as much as Recycle has made progressions in their recycling process, they still have a while to go in maximizing their procurement options, figuring out the viability of this venture, as well as finding a suitable location for their processing hub.
Recycle needs reliable procurement sources of these permanent magnets, employing a viable business model in a location that optimizes oxide sales, procurement, and minimizes cost. Based on the availability of specific REE-containing units, the accessibility of the magnets within them, and their cost-to-output ratios, we were able to narrow down MRIs and HDDs as the most reliable short-term procurement options for Recycle, as these currently make 99% of the market. We, however, do suggest that Recycle procures permanent magnets of wind turbines and electric vehicles later, as these take a few more years to reach their end of life. To ensure viability, we identified third-party companies from which Recycle could procure permanent magnets. These companies, which include Ocon Metals, provide more centralized access to permanent magnets of very varying grades and REE content. To address the location issue, with research, we found that Fort Worth, Texas is the most suitable location for Recycle's very first processing hub, as Fort Worth, Texas allows for closer proximity to oxide buyers, to procurement sources, allows for access to US government grants, and allows for affordable multimodal shipping across the United States. The solutions to identified problems are further explored in the course of our presentation.
Now, regarding the procurement problem, our data shows that Recycle should target the $250 million market of MRIs and HDDs, as you can see, which is about 99% of the total supply of rare earths found in end-of-life units. As we move further in 2030 and that composition changes, Recycle should look towards electric vehicles and wind turbines. An additional recommendation that our data shows is that Recycle should focus on MRIs and wind turbines for 3 main reasons. Number 1, a lot larger magnet sizes, making it easier to accumulate a lot of mass with fewer end-of-life units. Number 2, they are found in more centralized locations, making it a lot easier to procure. And number 3, they do not require any specialized disassembly compared to hard disk drives and electric vehicles. And so it makes it easier and a lot reduced operating costs. Now that we see what particular procurement options to target, let's see how we can maximize this procurement.
Recycle can access over 900,000 tons of neodymium each year by partnering with third-party companies. From an interview with General Electric, an MRI manufacturing company, we were informed that MRI manufacturers are generally making a shift from permanent magnets containing MRIs to non-permanent magnet MRIs due to the inability of the former to meet strength requirements of the units that are being used, and also because of how expensive they are. This insight was also recurrent with HDD manufacturers as well, with the shift from hard disk drives to solid-state drives. These highlight the need for recycling these rare earth components so they do not completely phase out. Now, when MRIs reach their end of life, they are usually sent back to manufacturers or to scrap collectors like Ocon Metals and Sims, where they are separated and used for the composition of other units. We did identify that these third-party companies are able to collect about 600 kilograms of magnets from these MRIs, which could provide recycle with the added opportunity of about 235,000 tons of neodymium each year. Similarly, with HDDs, partnership with the identified 184 major data centers and alternative recyclers could provide recycle with about 600,000 tons of neodymium. Now let us see what these industry streams mean for recycle.
We have been able to create a business model that involves the use of third-party partners within recycle supply chain. What these partners do is provide centralized systems for end-of-life material procurement, as well as established logistics that recycle could utilize as a means to maximize their procurement options. On the far left, we have end-of-life sources consisting of units of permanent magnets that have reached the end of their life cycle and are ready to be disposed of or recycled. For instance, magnets in old hard drives at data centers. And in conversation with an industry expert working at Computer Recycling Central, they mentioned to us that they're able to retrieve about 10,000 to 25,000 HDDs per year from various data centers at OKC and other regions as well. Now, moving along to the next step, these permanent magnets are often sent to or retrieved by various third-party partners like scrap collectors and decommissioners at mass scales. This is good for recycle, allowing them to retrieve these materials, send them to their processing hub, where they go through the entire processing cycle, convert it into metal oxides, which is sold at a market price of approximately $160 per kilogram. Now that we've been able to unpack this business model, we can assess why Fort Worth, Texas is a suitable location for Recycle's processing hub.
Fort Worth, Texas uniquely positions Recycle to procure over 23,000 kilograms of end-of-life NdFeB magnets per year. Through our conversations with industry experts, we found that the most critical factor of our location decision was proximity to procurement sources. That's why we chose Texas, the overwhelming leader in both MRIs and HDDs at end of life in the US. Additionally, Texas offered other excellent factors like a US location that optimizes grant access, 7 RE scrap collectors, and 50% of the emerging oxide buyers in the United States, including the largest proposed oxide buyer in the United States right in Fort Worth. With an understanding of our location solution, we were able to project out Recycle's financials for the next 5 years. Recycle is projected to generate $157 million in revenue over the next 5 years. These revenues include all of our relevant operating and development costs, and we are profitable by year 3 with $49 million in revenue. Some assumptions that were critical to building out this model were an oxide price of $175 per kilogram, the procurement price of $30 per kilogram, and a 7% projected growth rate of oxide prices over the next 5 years. We also were able to determine that there's a 30% margin of safety on oxide prices, which creates a great deal of padding for Recycle, as the oxide market can be a bit volatile at times. With these financial implications in mind, we were able to identify next steps that Recycle needs to pursue for its future.
With neodymium prices surging over 400% actually of its usual, and the US government handing out hundreds and millions of dollars of grants, as you can imagine, there's a ton of entrepreneurs, investors, and businesses who are looking to enter this market. And so expeditious actions in the next year taken by Recycle is crucial. First of all, Recycle will need to establish their supply by contacting those 7 local scrap collectors we mentioned, and also work towards their $10 million financing goal, one, by contacting and marketing to Series A investors, and number 2, by engaging in discussions with governments and looking to have grants. Once we've had those established, we should look towards oxide buyers and writing contracts to sell over 15,000 kilograms per year. Once we have a strong foothold in these 4 different spheres, Recycle can then be in a great position to start initiation of the construction of their pilot plant, wherein Recycle becomes the first magnet recycler that produces oxides here in the US with the ability to produce over 20% of the US's rare earth demands and also cut down that carbon footprint by over 2 million tons. As you may see, we've had a great experience this semester learning, and so we would really like to thank our client, Ashley, for this amazing learning opportunity. Also, thank you for everyone for listening in, and we will now be opening the floor for Q&A. Professor Hooper?
Thank you. I thoroughly enjoyed your presentation. It was very thorough and educational for me. A couple of places on the chart here you mentioned contract for both buy and sell. I kind of have a 2-part question. Do you have an idea of the term of those contracts? How far in advance can you start to resolve some of that risk? And are there any hedging contracts or either over-the-counter or otherwise that are available for any of these items?
Yeah, I can start. Well, we don't have a lot of existing market information because this is a completely new sphere. There are a lot of partners that we can have regarding hedging. There are a lot of metal trading companies that Recycle can partner with in order to organize that hedging of the prices. Because yeah, that is true. Price volatility is a key issue, and so hedging with those longer-term contracts with metal trading companies, I think, is essential.
Yes. Kind of on the same, you mentioned the $30 price per kilogram back to your suppliers. How does that compare with what they're receiving currently for those metals from a price point? And then as this grows, what do you envision for that price as competition for repurchase of these materials looks like?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we were actually able to speak with some of those third-party suppliers, and the answer that we were hearing consistently right now is that they would be willing to sell those units for $30 per kilogram because there's not a whole lot of other competitors in the space right now. We did project into our financial projections that the cost per kilogram will increase as the years go on. We used 7% because we figured that it would probably increase proportionally to the growth in oxide prices. So that's kind of how we factored that into our long-term projections.
Yes.
Under the financing category, there's a current drawdown in venture funding, both in terms of capital being invested and valuations. How is your end of the company handle trying to raise money in a volatile, slowing capital time?
Yeah, I can kind of start with this question. So one thing that uniquely positions Recycle to receive funding right now is just our client's excellent track record. She's founder of Black Mountain Metals as well, which has really taken off in recent years. So there is that excellent track record, as well as the fact that they are the first mover in this space. Definitely creates a strong opportunity, especially given the current market demand for rare earth oxides.
Sue?
You mentioned how dirty the mining is the recycling process environmentally friendly, or what steps have to be taken?
Yeah, so recycle is actually, as we mentioned, one of our points, low cost, low waste. So the process that they actually use happens in a low pressure setting that allows for very little energy to be emitted, plus the water that they use in the crushing phase is disposable. They reuse it many times instead of just like using it once and tossing it out away, further increasing, I guess, their environmentally friendliness in that capacity.
Okay, so for wind turbines, shockingly, they are blown up when they reach their end of life and separated on site. So what happens is these decommissionings like NextEra and Excel Energy take apart the parts and then ship them to, or transport them by road to recyclers that are interested in the specific parts. So what Recycle would potentially be doing when they are at the capacity of procuring magnets of wind turbines would be to reach out to these decommissioners for access to the magnets themselves. This would not require any special decomposition or separation because all of those are done by the decommissioners.
We have room for one more question. Yes.
Does the technology work? Is there a lot of technology risk still for the potential investors? They've proven the model.
Nanda, you got this.
So in terms of the technology, it's been proven to work, and well, Recycle is still in the stage of moving along to establish its first pilot. So I guess with various studies that have been taking place, it has shown to be effective, but they still need to actually put it into action in a real world setting to, I guess, make it valid that it's a good process.
To add up to that, Recycle currently recycles the REEs from HDDs. They own a disk disassembly machine that is capable of separating about 1,000 HDDs per day. So they are already in the process of recycling REEs. They, however, would need to expand their reach of these permanent magnets in order to expand oxide sales.
So yes, the technology is proven, but scalability is still a question that we need to work further. But yeah, with 7 years of experience and the only commercial oxide producer here in the US, they're really in an amazing position to take this market.
Hi everyone, my name is Addie Camerlocker and I'm this semester's development team lead for the Software Business Accelerator team. On behalf of the entire team, I'd like to reach out and thank our amazing client, Heather Ruba, for helping us all get acquainted with the construction procurement industry. Also, of course, thank you to all of I-CCEW staff and our fellow Arjun. He's been a great help this semester, especially on the technical side. Now, I would like to say a little something about each of the devs. Overall, they have been an amazing team to be a part of, and I'm honored to have been able to work with them. First off is Anthony. He has such a strong eye for design that his coded work is just as beautiful as his mock-ups, which caused a lot of confusion and awe to everybody else. Jesse, he might seem all business, but he's actually the one sneaking Star Wars jokes into the drafts of presentations. And then Ted, he is definitely a team player, but he also has a secret competitive streak that took us from dead last in the marketing competition to sweeping it and winning half the prizes. Last but not least, of course, is Micaiah. She's this team's devil's advocate. She has completely changed the direction of the project more than once, but she's always constructive and usually right. Now I'll hand it off to Joy to introduce the business team.
Hello everyone, my name is Joy Nath, and I had the pleasure of leading the business team this semester. And I want to introduce my consultants. They don't know what I'm going to talk about, so this is going to be fun. I want to start by saying that this is a rock star team. They worked super hard on this project, and my introduction cannot do them justice, but I'll try. Avery brings energy to every team meeting. She's bubbly, she's cheerful, she's trying to bring us up all the time. She also made us sign our souls away to cycle bars, so now all of us are cycle barring. And also, she's very dedicated to this project, so much so that she actually went to Dallas to do research for this project. Then we have Maduro. Maduro was the quiet one, but she started quietly influencing all our fashion choices, wearing the best outfits to all of our meetings. And then she's so dedicated that our Teams history chat has been so long, I could actually write my PhD thesis with that thing. And then finally, Chirabo. Chirabo has gone above and beyond for this project, so above and beyond that she actually snuck into a subreddit only meant for construction management professionals, and she pretended to be one, and she did a really good job. All of them have gotten together and done such a great job, and I know you're a little tired of hearing two team leads, surprise, speaking, and so we would like to welcome our team, the Software Business Accelerator, to introduce you to the wonderful project and the work that they did this semester.
Hello, okay. Thank you, Joy and Addie. We are SOBA. Imagine you are standing in the middle of a construction site wearing a hard hat without confirmation of when the next product will be delivered in order for you to complete the current phase of the project. This is a challenge construction employees are faced with on a day-to-day basis. SOBA is working with our client, Heather Ruba, to create an application which allows for advancement within procurement. We are excited to show you the progress we have made within our application with the proposed name of Procure Now. My name is Avery Gibbons. I am on the business team.
And my name is Maduro Dijang.
My name is Trabo Banya.
My name is Anthony Emmonshu, and I'm a part of the development team.
My name is Jesse Blackledge.
My name is Ted Shong.
And my name is Micaiah Still.
Procure Now streamlines the bidding process and increases vendor visibility. The procurement process consists of the following steps. First, the project manager sends a submittal to the architect, and it is approved. The project manager then calls the vendor and requests for quotes. The vendor then sends quotations for the materials, and the project manager goes to review these materials and sends a purchase order to the vendor. The vendor would then send a delivery date and process the materials, and finally, the materials are delivered by the vendor.
Procure Now's ideal user manages the startup and budget of the project. While conducting interviews and shadowing construction management firms, Procure Now was able to identify the occupation in the industry as a project manager. The project manager would utilize Procure Now during steps 1 through 4 of the procurement process while working on projects that are budgeted between $3 million to $20 million with a strong emphasis on needing assistance with CSI divisions 8 through 10.
So, CSI divisions are the industry standard for product procurement categorization. And so there's a total of 28 of these divisions within the construction industry, but the application will only focus on divisions 8 through 10, which contains some of the items that you would typically find near the end of a construction project. So things like specialty items, light fixtures, wood doors, metal frames, those sort of items. And we decided to focus on these divisions in particular because getting these items is a real hassle. These items tend to have some of the longest lead times, and because these items are end of project items, your budget for these items will tend to fluctuate quite a bit. So on the right here, you can see this is sort of how a division is structured. In the first tier, we have the division. In the second tier, we have the subdivisions. And then in the third tier, we have the categories of those subdivisions. And our application decided to go as specific as possible into the third tier because we want our users to know exactly what they're getting from the vendor. We want it to be as specific as possible. And you'll see how this is later integrated in the application as we proceed in the presentation.
So based on our shadowing and interviewing, we have identified 3 key issues within the current procurement process. Those issues are centralization, efficiency, and communication. So as Ted just stated, with centralization, we know that these specialty items are the hardest to procure. So one thing that Procure Now wants to offer to its procurers is the ability to search for vendors based on CSI division using our filtering algorithms that'll be later discussed. One other thing as well is, while shadowing, we noticed that procurers were using so many different applications, up to 3 to 4 at a time, for their organization. So this is something that we know Procure Now needs to offer as a key feature, is organizational tools that procurers can use while actually working with the site. So features that we have in our current application are Project Select and Overview page, which will be later discussed as well. Another thing, during our interview, one of the procurers stated that 90% of communication is actually handled via email, but most of the big hassle issues or problems are fixed during like an hour Zoom call. So why not just already have a video call feature added into our direct message feature that we're offering on the web application, as well as, since we know email is their primary form of communication, allowing those direct messages to also be sent to their actual user email that they use to sign up. So now we will go into some of the developmental features that are featured within the Procure Now application. So we know that there are two sides to Procure Now. We have our vendors and we have our procurers. So based on this, starting with how vendors can actually sign up for the site, they can actually specify which CSI divisions they support during sign up. And this is by clicking 8 through 10 in their subdivision categories prior to actually being a vendor on the site. This is how we will allow procurers to actually find vendors that can help and assist them with those specified CSI divisions that they're looking for.
Procurers have access to a variety of organizational and procurement features. So following up on the vendor side of the application, we also have the procurer side as well. Following login, the user is greeted with the Project Select page. The Project Select and Overview page provide the user with finer control over different details of the project. So once landing on the Project Select page, the user has the option of clicking on the I button to be provided with a variety of quick action buttons, as well as clicking on a project tab to be transferred to the project's respective overview page. Once being transferred to the overview page, there are multiple organizational features to assist the project manager. Some of those being the list, quoted, and orders tabs on the right, which allow the user to create and manage different lists that they might want to have, as well as the quick access material list, which allow the user to have a quick look at different procurement materials or items. One of the project managers we've interviewed stated that she keeps lots of lists to help keep herself organized during her role as a self-performing project manager. So having features such as these would aid directly in that process. Also present on the screen is a search bar, and next we'll dive deeper into that component.
So the search bar locates potential vendors within the specified subdivision, which really helps resolve the issue of centralization mentioned previously. So just right off the bat, clicking on the search bar will give you a drop-down that lists all the subdivisions that our app supports. Now, it's important to note that if you try searching for something that doesn't exist within the app, so something that doesn't lie within divisions 8 through 10, something that exists outside of divisions 8 through 10, you're not going to find it here on the search bar. But let's say if you wanted to search for metal doors to procure from, and you wanted to see which vendors supplied metal or wooden doors for you. By clicking on wood doors, it would generate a list of all the vendors on the app that said they can supply wood doors for you. Or let's say if you wanted to procure metal doors. By clicking on metal doors, it would bring up a list of all the vendors that could supply metal doors for you. And this really helps solve the issue of centralization, because previously, these procurers had to go from vendor to vendor asking to see if they had metal doors or wooden doors, and it was just a huge hassle. But now, with just a click of a button away, they have all these vendors that they can choose from. After the searching process comes the quoting process, which will now be explained.
The quote page simplifies the quoting process by allowing procurers to obtain multiple quotes at once. This multi-quote feature of Procure Now fits perfectly into the way the project managers currently obtain quotes, and that for many projects, it is required that they obtain at least 3 quotes before settling on a seller. As you can see here, the procurer selects multiple sellers that they would like to obtain a quote from and clicks the Quote Selected button. This brings up the direct message box where they can enter in all the information that they would like from their quote and click Send. Once clicking Send, The message is sent through the in-app messaging system, as well as an email is sent to all of the intended recipients. To view the messages in the app, the user navigates to the DM page button in the top right to go to the DM page, which we'll talk about next. The DM page, chat history page, and video call features help streamline communication for users. The DM page organizes the user's messages based on the project and subject that the procurer had sent a message to. Each group of messages is organized based on the sellers that they sent the message to, and a notification will appear anytime a new message is received. Clicking the message will take them to the chat history page, where they can continue the conversation. Additionally, they can view the entire chat history with that seller based on the project and subject, and choose to make a video call should they so choose.
Construction management firms with up to 500 employees are the best target market for Procure Now. The total number of construction management firms in the US is 36,310 firms. The target market makes up 30% of this, which is 10,893 firms, which is a good starting point for Procure Now. There is an anticipated 3.1% growth in the market of construction management firms, showing steady growth within the industry. We also have selected a range of up to 500 employees, as we found out from shadowing that these firms have difficulties procuring materials from CSI divisions 8 through 10, showing a need for an application like Procure Now. And we've also gathered that these firms are often self-performing management firms, meaning that they do not rely on third-party contractors to complete a project.
Procure Now delivers value by focusing on divisions 8 to 10 and offering video calls. Some of the features offered by Procure Now include a project management dashboard, a material inventory feature, direct messaging, live calling, and vendor evaluation. The competitors that we have identified in this space include ThomasNet, which is a supplier discovery and product sourcing platform which connects industrial buyers from a wide variety of industries to suppliers, and I-Squarefoot, which is a pre-construction management service that serves construction professionals, enabling them to create projects, manage bids within the commercial construction industry. Procure Now delivers value by enabling its users to procure on the platform, particularly for these divisions, and streamlines the bidding process all the way from the architectural approval to the sending of a purchase order.
Procure Now has identified multiple sources of revenue. The initial generation of revenue will come from a subscription on the project manager's end. While conducting interviews with construction management firms, Procure Now was able to identify that one of the main annoyances in the industry is the construction firm having to pay for high-dollar monthly subscriptions that anyone has access to. From here, we were able to gather insight and create the model with the monthly subscription being $35 in approval process for verification purposes. If the project manager would like to be a subscriber to the platform, the construction management firm will reach out to Procure Now to initially start the subscription. From here, we will go through a verification process with the project manager and the firm to ensure that they have all the proper certifications to be on Procure Now. From here, Procure Now will implement a project management with the firm. We will be assisting the project manager through the first 2 weeks of their implementations within Procure Now to ensure that they are maximizing all of their options within the platform. Once the project manager has completed a project on the platform, they will pay Procure Now a fee of 0.05%. This number was identified by looking at the project financials of identifying CSI divisions 8 through 10. An additional source of revenue that Procure Now is exploring is charging vendors a distribution fee. As of right now, vendors have a great incentive to be on the platform due to the fact that they do not have to pay for a monthly subscription. Once vendors have populated our database, we are exploring the idea of charging vendors 3% per distribution that they work with of project managers. The initial startup cost of Procure Now will be estimated at $745,000. These costs cover the cost of hiring 3 software engineers, website development, and a sales team. From here, we will look at the generation of revenue for 5 years if a project manager is working on one project that is $5 million within 1 year. From here, within 5 years, the generation of revenue will be $806,000 with while costing $630,000 for the project manager to be implemented within the platform. This one project worth $5 million has the opportunity for the project manager to create concision within their day-to-day task, to take on more projects, and ultimately working on 2 to 3 projects on the platform eventually.
So some next steps for the development team are to implement authentication and security features, as well as hosting this website on servers and rolling out new features and future updates such as vendor evaluation.
And the next steps for the business team are to reach out to an initial group of vendors, to market the service to procurers, and to expand to all construction management firms. We've had a great time working with our client, Heather Ruba, this semester, and we would like to thank you all for taking this time to listen to what we had to present. We will have a short demo of Procure Now in the lobby at the end of this event, and we would like to open the floor to questions.
Do they also allow for the other divisions of procurement? And then, depending upon their market penetration into your target market, do you view that as challenging to convert people from those solutions to your solution if you only do a subset of the divisions?
So your question is that the competitors have a wide variety of they offer a variety of services which are not catered towards that particular niche, and whether or not we would be able to provide value within the industry. So from my understanding, Procure Now aims to focus on the process that is particular to procurers and sellers. Right now, the competitors are currently offering a wide variety of services. For instance, I-Square is more so a networking service, and so Procure Now would like to implement these divisions because they're the ones that are the most expensive, and they're the ones that are currently not being served within the market. And I hope that answers your question. Yeah. All right. Are there any more questions?
What type of marketing strategy would Procure Now use to reach both vendors and suppliers? And are those different marketing strategies, or how's that?
Yes, so the initial outreach would actually be community outreach implemented to where a software developer and a member of our sales team would actually go to market. Vendors and construction management firms are often at these events, and we would just pay for a booth to be there, and then that would include some of our marketing materials, and we would also be initially launching business pages on Facebook and Instagram to really just generate those analytics and engage with the insights that we're receiving. To clarify, you would like to know about the 3% fee for vendors? Okay, so this is actually something Procure Now is still establishing within our product, but that has been based on other third-party distribution platforms, really just analyzing platforms like eBay, Poshmark to see what's worked best for them, and then hoping to implement that within our platform. So to clarify, you'd like to know if we have identified a client? Yes, we do have a client we are working with, and she has been working hands-on with us throughout the entire process, and we're working with her to expand the knowledge in the industry and continue working on the platform. Individually, she will. Yes.
Yeah, I'm curious, did you guys get any feedback when talking with construction crews about the security of the website? You mentioned that that's something you're going to initially focus on the development side. Is that a concern of a lot of the consumers who will be using the software?
So just to confirm your question, you just want to know about our feedback that we've gotten from procurers and about the security of the site? So we actually have not been able to get any feedback on the current implementation of the website just because of confidentiality. But through our shadow, this is actually how we changed our entire project and our direction based on what we noticed other procurers already doing and getting their input on things that they would actually like to see in applications, but not per se disclosing this actual application itself. I know during one of our client interviews, they actually talked about the fact that their company was trying to already create an application similar, and they actually delved into some of the features that they were adding into their own company's website. So we just kind of use those as well as a backing for what we're doing with the site currently. So just to confirm, you want to know more about the video call feature and how to be implemented on the site. So there actually is a few options that we already looked into that are already created just because they're the easiest to use, and there's a lot of free, just like easy to use softwares that are on like GitHub and different packages that are already out there created, especially with the Zoom world. So we would most likely suggest to the next development team to actually just use one of those platforms opposed to trying to create their own software for video application within the website.
We have time for one more question. You would like to know about the challenges of marketing the product to vendors or procurers? The initial development for vendors, they would have great incentive to be on the platform because it would open up opportunity to a new network of project managers that might not be familiar with the vendor yet, so that would be a great advertising opportunity for them. For the project manager, it would be more incentive of targeting their firm, for the firm to pay for the subscription rather than the actual user paying for it. So that's just something that we would have to really address with the company rather than the individual user. Thank you.
Okay, let's give them one more round of applause. That was an excellent job by all of our teams. They've been working very hard this semester, so thank you for your time and attention. Thank you to all those that could attend in person, but also those attending virtually via the live stream. We appreciate your continued support of the program. Before we wrap up, I have the honor of introducing our incoming interns, some of which are here today, some of which are joining virtually, in addition to the team leaders that will be leading them. So I'm going to say their names quickly. If you're here, please feel free to rise. If not, please hold your applause till the end. So incoming for fall 2022, we have Peter Impraco, Jonah Barth, Andrew Brown, Jack DeLester, Jonathan Dumar, you can sit down after you stand. I don't want you to have to stand there the whole time. Faith Farrell, Ducha Hapsari, Nanziri Kayondo, Sophia Miller, Isa Mohammed Shiraj, Mercy Indajira, Tina Nguyen, Vin Nguyen, Jacob Pa, Karin Peo, Fazil Raha, Fabio Santini Bianco, Benny Sanders, Shubha Sath, Nima Shadaram, Akiba Singh, and Willie Zing. Let's give them a round of applause. So if you'll join us back here this time next semester, you can see their wonderful presentations. But leading them, we have an amazing cohort of incoming team leaders. So these are interns that have gone through the process at least once and have been asked to come back and lead their own team. So incoming, we have Emma Biskup, who I believe is here. Round of applause. Micaiah Stell. Erica Miller. Peyton Nealis. And John Noel. So yes, thank you so much once again for attending. We'll be hosting a reception in the lobby, and we encourage you to join us, ask the interns more questions, or see their demos live. Thank you.